You should be done here. You'll be back from the station any second now. I haven't had a chance to ask. How was London?
Oh, much as usual. Dirty, noisy, and quite enjoyable.
There was no need for you to come back a day early. I'm perfectly capable of getting the house ready.
Of course you are, but I like to have the heavy luggage back and unpacked before they get here.
I suppose. Steady, William. This isn't a race. Poor lad.
But he did see her. I was worried when I took him to King's Cross.
Yes, he had time to say goodbye.
How is he now?
Well, you've only got one mother, haven't you?
Here, Mrs. Hughes.
Hello, William. It's good to have you back.
What a relief to be home.
Don't listen when his lordship pretends not to enjoy the season.
When in Rome,
Will Lady Mary be back soon?
she's staying on with my sister for a couple of weeks.
So Grantham House is closed.
It will be by the end of this week. Dear Mrs. Hughes, I hope you've had some time to yourself while we've been away.
I've tackled a few jobs that get forgotten about when the house is full.
Any local news?
The main topic here is the murder of the Austrian Archduke.
Here and everywhere else.
I'm afraid we haven't heard the last of that. How is William?
Bearing up.
Poor chap. He has our sympathies.
I think I'll watch the train off before dinner.
Very good, my lord. I can unpack while you're bathing.
I'll see you up there.
Oh, Mrs. Hughes.
I've started on it, but there are things we need to talk about.
Oh, dear. That sounds like trouble. I'll take my hat off. Sybil, you were a great success in London, darling. Well done.
You never say that to me.
Did I? You were very helpful, dear. Thank you.
I hate to spoil her ladyship's homecoming, but what are we going to do about Mrs. Patmore? She's worse than when you left. Much worse. Oh, and I meant to ask, is there a decision about Mr. Bates leaving?
Oh, not yet. His lordship wants the facts, and Mr. Bates won't give them. So what are you going to say to her ladyship about Mrs. Patmore?
I'm not sure. I don't want the poor woman sacked, but things cannot go on as they are.
There's nothing like an English summer, is there?
Except an English winter.
I'm sorry you haven't received more invitations. But then after 4 seasons, one is less a debutante than a survivor. My dear, is there anything you're not telling me?
No,
Only one hears stories.
there's nothing, Aunt Rosamond.
So, have you decided whether or not to marry Cousin Matthew? Oh, there's no secret Cora can keep for more than a month.
You'd be surprised. I've told him I'll give him my answer the day I get back.
Well, it will be very tidy. At least we can say that.
Fancy a smoke?
Don't mind if I do.
There they go. Guy Fawkes and his assistant.
Which is which?
Here you are. Surely, if his lordship hasn't done anything until now, means he doesn't want to take it any further.
Anna's made me an armband, Mr. Carson. For my mother. Can I wear it?
I dare say. Not when we're entertaining, but otherwise.
Hello, Doctor. I didn't know you were here.
No. Lady Grantham sent a message.
Why, she's not ill, is she?
Not ill, exactly.
Would you mind waiting in the library? Pregnant?
You need me quite so shocked.
Give me a moment. You haven't been pregnant for 18 years.
And I'm pregnant now.
I don't understand what we've done differently. I can't take it in.
But you pleased?
Of course. Of course I'm pleased.
I don't think she'd do it.
I told you she would. I could see she was interested, and I was speaking as one lady's maid to another. That means something, you know.
Of course, we thought we had him before, but he's a slippery devil.
It's unusual, obviously.
Unusual? It's biblical.
Not quite. You understand that women go through a certain change.
Thank you. I know quite as much as I need to about all that.
Well, sometimes it can result in a surge of fertility, for want of a better word.
But the child will be healthy.
Oh, there's no reason why not.
How long has she...
Hard to be precise. Things have become irregular, but...
Please.
I'd say she's about 4 months gone. It'll begin to show soon.
And I don't suppose there's any way of knowing if it's a...
I do beg your pardon, my lord. I thought you were alone.
No, please come in, Mrs. Hughes. I'm just leaving.
William?
Well, thank you, Doctor. I'd better start writing some letters.
Show Dr. Clarkson out. I didn't want to bother her ladyship if she's not well.
She's resting, but tell me anyway.
It's Mrs. Patmore, my lord. The time has come when we really have to make a decision.
Now, do you believe me?
Careful, Thomas. Your position is not a strong one.
Don't punish us, Mr. Carson. It's Mr. Bates who's wanting here.
Tell me, Mr. Carson, do you think it right a man like that should live and work at Downton?
Mr. Napier, my lady.
What a surprise. I'm afraid you've just missed my aunt.
I know. I watched her leave.
How are your wedding plans going?
Not very well. In fact, we've decided to call it off.
Really? Well, it seemed quite fixed at Sybil's ball. What a shame. Please.
It'll be better in the long run.
Perhaps. I know what high hopes you have of the institution.
The thing is, Lady Mary, I'm here today because I needed to tell you something face to face before you went to the country.
Face to face? Gracious me.
I've recently heard gossip about the time when I came to Downton with Kamal Pamuk. Gossip that I believe has made life difficult for you. I've also heard it said that I am the source of these stories. It is very important to me that you should know that I am not. From that day to this, I have never spoken one word on the matter.
Then who did?
It seems to have come from the Turkish embassy. From the ambassador himself, in fact, and his wife.
But who told them, if not you?
This is the hard part. When I discovered the answer, I debated whether I should relay it, but in the end, I feel you ought to know.
The suspense is killing me.
It was your sister, Lady Edith, who wrote to the ambassador. That is why people accept the story.
Edith.
It is very hard to believe.
Harder for you than for me. I love the thought of a baby in the house, but if it's a boy...
It'll be very hard on Mr. Crawley. Yeah, I know. I was no great champion when he first arrived. It seems to me he's tried his best and he's done the decent thing.
I can't see that coming off.
You don't mean the engagement?
But it's not an engagement yet, is it?
She'd never throw him over.
Mr. Carson, Lady Mary Crawley does not deserve you.
And she's not been in touch with Cousin Matthew? Not that I've heard. Wonderful news, of course. You must look after yourself.
Don't worry, O'Brien has me wrapped in silken feathers.
You're lucky. I have a horrible feeling Simmons is about to hand in her notice. She's looking very fidgety lately. And I saw her hurrying to meet the postman.
Oh, you poor thing. Is there anything worse than losing one's maid?
I mean, why would she want to leave me? I've been as gentle as a lamb. Most of the time.
I want to say I'll make provision for you if it's a boy and you get pushed out.
Don't worry. I know you can't. If any man living understands the strength of the entail, it's me.
I can give you Crawley House for life if it's a help.
Have you heard from Mary?
No. Have you? By the way, I want to ask a favour. What's the name of your cook? The one you brought with you from Manchester?
Mrs. Bird.
I'll get it, Mrs. Patmore.
Oh, don't fuss me.
Is that everything?
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Well, most people's parents die before them, and so
Oh,
they
give it a rest. Your mother knew how to drag it out, I'll say that for her.
What?
Thomas!
No, I'm fine.
Get up to the surgery.
You gave me the wrong cloth.
Oh, sit down, Mrs. Patton.
I can't sit down when I've got the luncheon to finish.
It was not a suggestion. Sit. Daisy and I will finish the luncheon.
So he'll give us this house for life, will he? How generous.
It is generous. He doesn't have to. But it's made me think. You must stay here if you want, but I wonder if it mightn't be better all round if I went back to Manchester.
It may not be a boy.
Really, Mother, you never approved of it all in the first place. If it is a boy, you should see it as a release, not a disappointment.
What does Mary say?
Nothing yet.
You wanted to see Mrs. Bird, sir?
Yes, Mrs. Bird. Lord Grantham has rather a favour to ask of you.
I'm surprised Lord Grantham knows that I exist, sir.
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Quite all right.
Mr. Bates, it's about your somewhat startling confession. As you'll have surmised, his lordship has yet to come to a decision.
His delay is generous.
However, it will be no surprise to you that Miss O'Brien has been unwilling to let things drop. It seems that when we were in London, she made a new friend. A lady's maid in the house of a colonel in your former regiment. Please tell me that this account is false, at least in part.
I wish I could.
I'll have to show this to his lordship.
Of course you will.
I do not like to play the part of Pontius Pilate, but I'm afraid I must. Lord Grantham will decide what's to be done. Mr. Bates, I hope you do not feel that I've treated you unjustly.
On the contrary, Mr. Carson. I am astonished at your kindness.
Of all of you, Sybil might find joy in a cottage, but not you.
We don't know it'll be a boy.
Exactly. So ask Matthew to wait until the child is born. If it's a girl, you can wed him happily, and all will be as it was before.
But if I delay, won't he think I'm only after him for his position? Besides, I'm not sure I want to put him off, even without the title. We get on so well, you know, and he's terribly clever. He might end up Lord Chancellor.
And he might not. Oh, come along, Mary, be sensible. Can you really see yourself dawdling your life away as the wife of a country solicitor?
But why would we ever want to telephone at Downton, my lord?
Well, they have their uses. You could speak to the housekeeper in London. That'd be helpful, surely.
I hope I have not failed in my management of the recent move.
Not at all. But the telephone is here now. And the girls got used to it when we were in London.
Besides, none of us know what the next few months will bring.
Because of the Archduke's death.
Austria won't get what it wants from Serbia, and now Russia's starting to rumble. Well, there's not much we can do about that. So, will you take care of the telephone man?
Oh, about Mr. Bates, my lord. I expect you've had time to consider the contents of that letter.
Yes, but I find it very odd. Regimental silver. I could more easily see Bates as an assassin than a petty pilferer.
I agree. And while the letter is hard to argue with, I wouldn't put anything past Thomas or Miss O'Brien.
So, what did we miss?
Nothing much. Although you'd have had more invitations than I did.
Have you thought about Matthew?
Of course. But Aunt Rosalind said...
She's written to me I should pay no attention.
But Granny, she has got a point. Mary can't be completely naive.
I don't need your help, thank you.
Mary, listen to me. If you take Matthew now, when his whole future is at risk, he will love you to the end of his days.
Why, Granny, you're a romantic.
I've been called many things, but never that.
And what happens if the baby's a boy and Matthew loses everything?
Mary can always change her mind.
But I can't do that to Matthew. It's not how we are together.
Oh.
No, I'm going upstairs to help Hannah unpack.
I'll come with you.
Edith, why don't you go too?
Sir Anthony Strallan was at Lady Wren's party. He asked after you.
Is she really serious about him?
Any port in a storm. Oh, by the way, I was right about my maid. She's leaving to get married. Well, how could you be so selfish?
I do sympathise. Robert's always wanting me to get rid of O'Brien, but I can't face it. Anyway, she's so fond of me.
Well, I thought Simmons was fond of me. What am I to do?
Why don't I put an advertisement in the Lady? It's always the best place to start.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. I really must be going. Now, don't let Mary wait for the baby before she gives Matthew her answer.
I'm sure it's another girl.
I know those men of the moral high ground. If she won't say yes when he might be poor, he won't want her when he will be rich.
Maybe we should knit something.
Oh, yes, I'm sure they'd love a pair of booties knitted by you.
Or what about a christening mug?
They can buy their own silver.
Anything in the paper, Thomas?
They've arrested this Princep fellow and his gang. All Serbian and members of the Black Hand.
The Black Hand? Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
I don't like the sound of any of it. War is on the way.
Then we'll have to face it as bravely as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon Fodder.
Well, don't you think a war's coming?
Oh, there'll be a war, all right. It's time to prepare for it.
The country, do you mean?
No, me.
You never disappoint.
Daisy, run and find Mrs. Patmore. His lordship wants to see her in the library.
His lordship wants Mrs. Patmore to go up to the library.
That is what I said. And Anna, you're to come too.
We thought the assassination of an archduke was a surprise.
Mrs. Patmore, my lord.
Your lordship, I know things haven't been quite right for a while, but I can assure you...
Come in, Mrs. Patmore.
I promise you, my lord, if I could just be allowed a bit more time...
Mrs. Patmore, I've not asked you here to give you your notice.
Haven't you?
No. I understand you've had some trouble with your sight.
That's just it. I know I could manage better if only...
Please, Mrs. Patmore.
Let him speak. Beg pardon, my lord.
Don't apologise. Now, on Dr. Clarkson's recommendation, I'm sending you up to London to see an eye specialist at Moorfields. Anna will go with you, and you'll stay with my sister Rosamond in her new house in Belgrave Square.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to sit in your presence, my lord.
Of course.
But how will you get on here?
Well, Mrs. Crawley is lending us her cook, Mrs. Bird. She's coming over tomorrow. You'll be good enough to show her how things work.
Are the Crawleys to starve while I'm away?
They'll eat here every evening. Now, my sister's butler will look after you. He's very nice. Anna, you won't mind a visit to London?
No, my lord. Thank you. It'll be an adventure.
One with a happy ending, I hope.
Let me get this clear. At Sybil's ball, you said you'd give me your answer the day you got back, and now you say you will not.
Why do we have to rush into it? I need to be sure, that's all.
But you were sure. Shall I tell you what I think has altered you? My prospects, because nothing else has changed.
No.
Yes. If your mother's child is a boy, then he's the heir, and I go back to living on my wits, and you'd rather not follow me.
Oh, Matthew, you always make everything so black and white.
I think this is black and white. Do you love me enough to spend your life with me? If you don't, then say no. If you do, then say yes.
I want to... Granny told me I should say yes now, then withdraw if you lost everything.
To make that work, you'd have to be a good liar. Are you a good liar?
Well, not good enough to try it, apparently.
How could you not have realized they'd discover the loss at once? And to keep them in your house? But you only served 2 years.
That's right, my lord.
So, clearly the judge thought there was some mitigating factor. I just want to know the truth.
I cannot speak of it, my lord. You must decide whether I stay or go on the basis of the evidence before you. I will respect that.
Sorry. I don't believe it.
How can you say that? When I've confessed to the crime.
Well, his lordship obviously doesn't think that's all there is to it. And I don't either.
Anna, are you set for the 9 o'clock train tomorrow?
All packed and ready.
You'll be met at King's Cross by Lady Rosamond's chauffeur, which I think is generous, but after that, you're on your own. Right, I must get on. I'm acting referee for Mrs. Patmore and Mrs. Bird.
Best of luck.
Will you miss me?
Try not to miss me. It'll be good practice.
I expect it'll be hard adjusting to this kitchen after the one you're used to.
Not to worry. I'm sure I can have it cleaned up in no time.
Cleaned up?
I'm not criticising. With your eyesight, it's a wonder you could see the pots at all.
You'll have met Daisy and the others?
I have. But what they all find to do is a mystery to me.
Are you not used to managing staff, Mrs. Bird?
I'm used to getting it done with one kitchen maid, Mrs. Patmore. But I suppose in an house like this, you expect to take it easy.
Do you think we should erect a ring and let them fight it out?
Yeah, she's all right, Mrs. Bird. She's more of a general than a trooper, but you need that in a cook.
Well, Mrs. Patmore's the generalissimo.
Well, I'm very sad. I thought Mary was made of better stuff.
Don't speak against her.
Of course, she's taken advice from someone with false and greedy values.
Oh, Mother.
And we don't have to go too far to know who that is.
Mother,
I've a good mind to...
not to go near Cousin Violet. That is an order.
Something's not right about it.
I agree. Having a silver thief in the house does not seem right at all, even if he could walk.
But Carson isn't keen to get rid of him either, and he normally comes down on this sort of thing like a ton of bricks.
What's his reasoning?
He blames Thomas and O'Brien. He says they've been working against Bates since he got here.
So I should sack O'Brien instead.
You'll hear no argument from me.
This should do the trick, my lady. "10 years of my life, that's what I've given her. 10 bloody years.
But did she say she'd sack you?
It's obviously what he wants.
So when will they tell you?
When they found a replacement. Heaven forfend she should have to put a comb through her own hair. And if I'm going, you won't be far behind.
Oh, so what? Sodom. There's a war coming and war means change. We should be making plans.
What are you talking about?
Well, put it like this. I don't want to be a footman anymore, but I don't intend to be killed in battle, neither.
Saying poison them. Just make sure they don't find her food all that agreeable.
By poisoning it.
Will you stop that?
You don't want it to taste nice.
I want them to be glad when I get back. That's all.
This will be for the family, and the one in my pantry is for the staff, or more precisely, me.
We don't normally provide two.
Then perhaps we should find another supplier.
Oh, hold your horses. Right. Where do you see this other telephone?
Here, in the outer hall.
Good afternoon, Carson. Is Lady Edith in?
I am. I most certainly am.
Oh, I was just driving past,
Yes.
and I thought you might like to come for a spin, if you're not too busy.
Wait till I get my coat.
Is it all right if I make some notes?
I'm so sorry, Mr.
This is Mr. Bromwich, my lady. He's here about the telephone.
Oh, please make your notes, dear Mr. Borridge. We're so looking forward to it. What an exciting business to be in.
You must be expanding every day.
Oh, we are, sir. But that brings its problems. Training up men for the work when many have no aptitude. I can't even find a secretary who can keep pace at the moment.
What?
But it's hard with a new concept. Too old, they can't change. Too young, and they've no experience.
But have you filled the post yet? Because I know just the woman.
Well, she must hurry up. We'll close the list tomorrow night.
You'll have her application. I promise.
This isn't bad at all, is it?
Well, I don't know. No one told me there'd be an actual operation.
And what did you think? They were just going to make magic passes over your eyes?
All right. Mrs. Hatmore?
She'll be fine. Thank you.
And you've been sent to us by the Earl of Grantham.
That's right.
Very good. You can leave her now. We'll keep her in for a week. You can collect her next Friday.
I'll be in to visit every day.
What about the rest of the time?
Don't worry. You'll be fine.
Bates, you say?
John Bates. He must have left the army about 8 years ago.
Wait here, please.
Have you finished the soup?
I think so, Mrs. Bird.
And the sauce for the fish?
Yes, Mrs. Bird.
Well, then put them in the warmer.
You don't mean John Bates, who went to prison for theft?
That's correct.
Well, I know who he is, right enough. Well, it's an odd business.
Why odd?
Never mind. So you're his cousin and you'd like to be in touch. Very forgiving. Well, I've got no address for him or his wife, but I've got one for his mother, which should still be good. Written it down for you.
Thank you for your trouble.
Is it true you wrote to the Turkish ambassador about Kamal?
Who told you?
Someone who knows that you did.
Then why are you asking?
Because I wanted to give you one last chance to deny it.
And what if I did? He had a right to know how his countrymen died. In the arms of a slut.
How's that advertisement getting on for the new maid?
Well, it's only just come out.
William and I can manage here now. Go and tell Mrs. Bird we'll have our dinner in 20 minutes.
Carson, be sure to say to Mrs. Bird the dinner was really delicious.
Oh, thank you.
So, how was the drive?
It was lovely.
They are now.
Only-
When they're in London, at least.
Yes?
No, I suspect this is going to be the coming thing.
Well, he said he had a question for me. He told me he'd ask it at the garden party, and he hopes I'll say yes.
Carson's very wary.
You must think very carefully what your answer will be.
Yes, I should think very carefully about a lot of things.
Do your neighbours have one?
Yes, they do. In London, anyway.
It seems very wise to get a telephone now. If there is a war, it may be very hard to have one installed in a private house.
Well, let me show you where we're going to put it.
Oh.
First electricity, now telephones. Sometimes I feel as if I were living in an H.G. Wells novel. But the young are also calm about change, aren't they? Look at Matthew. I do admire him. Do you? What have I done wrong now?
Oh, please. Don't pretend Mary's sudden reluctance can't be traced back to you.
Well, I shall pretend it. I told her to take him. Your quarrel is with my daughter Rosamond, not me. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Mr. Mosley. What are you after?
Wanted a word with Mr. Carson. I'm here to have my dinner.
You don't want much, do you?
What are you doing?
Mr. Carson dropped his wallet in the passage. I was replacing it.
But everything seems so settled between you at Sybil's ball.
Things have changed since then.
Not necessarily. I don't seem to be much good at making boys.
Any more than I'm much good at building my life on shifting sands.
You do know I should be very proud to have you as my son-in-law, whatever your prospects.
Unfortunately, sir, your daughter is more practical than you.
Will you join us, Mrs. Bird?
I don't mind if I do.
I'm not sure Mrs. Patmore would like that, Mr. Carson. Cook always eats separate, that's what she says.
Not in our house. There's only the four of us.
And you're going any minute. She's advertised for your replacement.
That filthy, ungrateful cow.
Let the kitchen maids have theirs on their own. You stay with us.
Her ladyship said to tell you that the dinner was delicious.
Calf.
Daisy, does that surprise you?
What have you done with this, you little beggar? I knew it. That's why I said it was for upstairs. Come on, tell us what's in it.
Just water and a bit of salt.
And you've put something in the fish sauce as well?
Only mustard and aniseed.
Why, Daisy? Why would you do such a thing?
Mrs. Patmore was worried that they prefer Mrs. Bird's cooking and they wouldn't want her to come back.
Is that likely, when they've taken such trouble to get her well?
I'm sorry.
There. There are worse crimes on earth than loyalty. Dry your eyes. And fetch the beef stew I was making for tomorrow. You've not had a chance to spoil that, I suppose.
I was gonna mix in some syrup of figs, but I've not done it yet.
Well, at least we'd have all been regular.
Carson said you were here.
Oh, just checking that everything's been done right, my lady.
Only we never heard back. That is, Miss Dawson never heard back from you. About an interview?
Yes. We got the young lady's letter, but the trouble is she didn't have any experience of hard work that I could tell, so...
But she's a very hard worker.
Well, I couldn't find any proof of it. And she gave you as a reference when you don't run a business, my lady. Well, not that I'm aware of.
Lily, can you find Gwen and tell her to come to the hall now?
Yes, my lady.
The reason Gwen didn't give any more details is because she works here as housemaid.
Ah, and you thought that would put me off?
But she's taken a postal course and has good speeds in typing, and Pitman Shorthand test her.
I will, if I like the look of her. Ah, so, young lady, you thought I'd turn up my nose at a housemaid?
Well, I did, sir.
Well, my mother was a housemaid. I've got nothing against housemaids. They know about hard work and long hours, that's for sure.
Well, I believe so, sir.
Right, well, is there somewhere we could talk?
Gwen, take Mr. Borridge to the library. I'll see no one disturbs you. Sorry, Papa, you can't go in there.
Why on earth not?
Gwen's in there with Mr. Bromwich. She's being interviewed.
I cannot use my library because one of the housemaids is in there applying for another job.
It's about the size of it.
So, what is it you want to know?
I want to know the truth about the case against him. I want to know why the sergeant thought it was odd. I want to know what Mr. Bates isn't saying.
Because you don't believe him to be guilty?
No, I don't. I know he's not.
Well, you're right, of course.
Then who was it? Who was the thief?
His wife, Vera.
Who do you call? No one you know has got one.
Well, he will have. You'll see.
Might I inquire why my pantry has become a common room?
Sorry, Mr. Carson. But do you know how it works?
Of course I do.
Will you show us?
Certainly not. A telephone is not a toy, but a useful and valuable tool. Now, get back to your work.
She worked at the barracks sometimes and helping at big dinners and so on. That night, her opportunity came and she took it. They knew it was her. Someone even saw her with a big carry-all.
But why did he confess?
Well, John wasn't the same man in those days. The African war had shaken him up and made him angry. He'd been wounded. And he drank a lot more than was good for him.
Was he violent?
No, not violent. He could be hard at times, with a tongue like a razor. He felt he'd ruined Vera's life, Miss Smith.
Do you agree with him?
No. I thought she was a nasty piece of work. But that's why he took the blame.
Surely, if everyone knew he was innocent...
But he confessed. There was nothing anybody could do once he'd confessed.
Could I ask you something, sir? Only, I get the feeling that a war's on the way.
I'm afraid we all do.
And when it comes, I want to be really useful to my country.
How heartening.
So I've been thinking what could be more useful than what you do. Bringing people back to health, back to life.
I see. Well, we are looking for volunteers to train for the territorial force hospitals, if that's what you mean.
It's exactly what I mean.
Will you not be missed here?
Maybe, but we'll all be going, won't we? The younger men, anyway.
As you wish. I'll make inquiries.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Mr. Molesley walked in, and there he was, as bold as brass, taking my wallet out of my change coat. Mr. Molesley would have no reason to make it up, my lord. He doesn't know Thomas. Why would he lie?
So Thomas has been caught red-handed. Well, we knew he was a thief, didn't we?
And now we have unimpeachable proof. I'm afraid he has to go.
Oh, I hate this sort of thing. With Lady Grantham's condition and everything. Can we at least wait until after the garden party?
Very well, my lord. But then I think we must act.
How long will you wear them?
A week or so, but I can see much better already, even with them on.
Thank heaven. Now, we need to talk about the garden party. Mrs. Bird and I have made some lists.
Mrs. Bird? Oh, I think we can manage without any help from Mrs. Bird.
Can you? Well, if you want your garden party to be run by a blind pew, that's your business.
Mrs. Patmore, there's a lot to be done, and you're only just up on your feet. We really cannot manage without Mrs. Bird.
If you say so.
Now, I've been checking the stores, and I've ordered what you'll need for the baking.
That's very kind, Mrs. Hughes, but I believe we should check the stores when it's convenient.
Mrs. Bird, at Downton Abbey, The housekeeper manages a store cupboard. But I
I've
think you'll
never
find...
not run my own store cupboard in my life. Separate the cook from the store cupboard. Where's the sense in that?
How long have I been saying this, oh Lord?
We're the ones who cook it. We should be the ones to order it.
Mrs. Bird, I shall be very happy with your help with the garden party. I'm sure we can manage it easily, between the two of us.
Hello? This is Downton Abbey. Carson the butler speaking. Hello. This is Mr. Carson the butler of Downton Abbey. To whom am I speaking? I'm not shouting. Well, who are you? Oh, Mrs. Gaunt. No, I don't want to place a call. I was practicing my answer. Well, I dare say a lot of the things you do sound stupid to other people.
I've written to your mother. She's very anxious. Naturally, she suggested coming over.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, so I put her off, told her to come and admire the baby.
I'll just go and run your ladyship's bath.
Thank you, O'Brien.
Oh, have you had any answers about the position?
Quite a few.
So what do they sound like?
There's one I think has real possibilities. She learned to do hair in Paris while she was working for the ambassadress.
Oh, sounds promising.
Carson, I've been meaning...
Your lordship?
Oh. Anna, you're back safely then?
Yes, thank you, my lord. And Mrs. Patmore's fighting fit again.
Fighting fits the phrase. Is something the matter?
I wanted to see your lordship because...
Please.
While I was in London, I learned something about Mr. Bates.
Not bad, I hope.
No, not bad at all. I'd have told Mr. Carson, but I thought you might like to hear it from me first.
Go on.
You see, I went to call on Mr. Bates's mother.
O'Brien, how long do you think it takes a lady's maid to settle in?
Depends on the maid, my lady.
Of course it does. Oops. Sorry.
The other half's under the bath.
Never mind. Thank you.
I'll just go and sort out your clothes, my lady.
Okay.
Sarah O'Brien, this is not who you are. My lady, if you could just wait.
The doctor's gone, Your Lordship, but he's coming back after dinner. Lady Mary's with her now.
Thank you.
I don't suppose you'll want to change, but is there anything else I can do to be useful?
It was a boy. I'm sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you.
I'm not embarrassed. I just wish you could have been spared this.
I know you do. Thank you. By the way, Anna's told me what she learnt in London.
Has she? She's not told me.
Oh. Well, the good news is you won't be leaving Downton. And I need some good news today.
That poor wee babe.
How's her ladyship doing?
I'll take her up a tree in a minute, but I dare say she won't touch a bite.
What about you, Miss O'Brien?
What about me?
Well, it must have been quite a shock.
Yes, it was.
I think you better dine with us, Mr. Branson. We can't know if you might be needed later.
Well, I'm to go for the doctor at 10. What a long-faced lot.
Kindly show some respect.
Come on, Mr. Carson, she'll get over it. They're no bigger than a hamster at that stage.
Will you shut up?
I agree. What is the matter with you, Thomas?
I don't know. I suppose all this makes me feel claustrophobic. I mean, I'm sorry, of course I am. But why must we live through them? They're just our employers. They're not our flesh and blood.
Thomas, don't be so unkind.
Is there nothing left on earth that you respect?
Look at him. Blimey, if he carries on like this for the unborn baby of a woman who scarcely knows his name, no wonder he fell to pieces when his old mum snuffed it.
William! Thomas! William! Stop that! That is enough! Calm down!
Yeah, that coming.
Oh, Thomas. I've done as I promised. General Burton is commanding the division at Richmond, and I think I may have a place there for you. And Colonel Cartwright, these are the papers. When you're ready, report to the local recruiting office, and they'll take it from there. As a matter of fact, I'm being drafted back in as a captain, so I'll try to keep an eye on you.
That's very kind of you, Doctor.
With any luck, there may be some advantage in your having volunteered so early.
Oh, hang on a minute. Now give me yours and take this one at the same time.
William, I'm sorry I've been so unkind to you lately.
Oh, that's all right.
No, it's not all right. I don't know why I said those things.
Well, you're under an evil spell.
Well, I'm not under it anymore.
I'm glad.
Friends?
Always friends.
I think we should start the ices now. If you agree, Mrs. Patmore.
Certainly, Mrs. Bird. Oh, my Lord, listen to that. It's like the cry of a banshee.
Mr. Carson's telephone was ringing. Well, isn't someone going to answer it?
I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I will then. No, Mr. Carson's busy. But can I take a message?
Apparently her father's taken her husband. True, though. I wish ours was.
I've got news, my lady.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Bromwich is wrong. You've done it, Gwen. You've got the job. Take it. Take it.
Something to celebrate?
I got the job, Mrs. Hughes. I'm a secretary. I'm forgotten.
I'm very happy for you, Gwen, and we'll celebrate after we finish today's work.
Of course, Mrs. Hughes.
I don't suppose.
Lady Sybil. Her ladyship was asking after you. Be careful, my lad, or you'll end up with no job and a broken heart.
What do you mean?
I don't seem to be able to find your sister.
I wonder where she is. Of course, she may have been cornered. I know there was some old bore she was trying to dodge.
Who was that?
I'm not sure. He's simply ghastly, apparently. But he's promised to propose today. I can't tell you how funny she was when she acted it out. She ought to go on the stage.
Really? Oh, how amusing.
Well done, Mrs. Hughes. Beautifully executed, as always.
Key is in the planning.
Mr. Carson, this probably isn't the moment, but I've just heard from Dr. Clarkson I've been accepted for a training scheme for the Army Medical Corps.
Have you indeed?
Yes, and I want to do it, so I'll be handing in my notice. I'll serve out the month, of course.
Thank you, Thomas. We can talk about it later.
And you couldn't have planned that any better either.
You can't be leaving yet.
I'm afraid I must. Please, make my excuses to your mother.
But
I wish you'd come inside, my lady.
No. People mustn't think I'm really ill. I don't want to cast a dampener on the party.
Very well. But are you sure you have everything you need, my lady?
Dear O'Brien. How sweet you are.
O'Brien, can I have a word? I need a favour and I don't want to bother Lady Grantham with it.
Certainly, my lady.
She's been helping me find a new maid, and we've had quite a few answers from her advertisement. Can you find where she's put them and get Branson to bring them to the Dower House?
Her ladyship was helping you find a new lady's maid?
Yes. We should have asked you, really. You might take a look at the letters if you have a minute. There's one we like the sound of who'd been trained in Paris. Do you know where she might have put them? The answers?
Oh, yes, my lady. There are only 2 or 3 places they could be.
Oh, thank you, O'Brien. You're a treasure. Thank you.
I didn't know a garden party was a spectator sport.
Pretty, though, isn't it? Hard to believe the clouds are gathering on a summer's day like this.
Mr. Bates, I know you think I was wrong to call on your mother.
I don't think that. She likes you, by the way.
I had to find out the truth.
But you see, you don't know the whole truth. Not even now. You know my mother's truth.
But not your wife's. Where is she now?
I couldn't tell you.
I better get back.
You here, Mr. Molesley? I didn't know that.
Just helping out. Nice girl, that Anna. Do you know if she's got anyone special in her life?
I'd like to say she hasn't. I would truly, but I'm afraid there is someone, yeah.
Do you think he's keen on her, or is it worth a go?
Well, he keeps himself to himself. And it's very hard to read at times, but I'd say he's keen. I'd say he's very keen indeed.
Daisy, I said ices, not iced cakes. Now unclog your ears and get these to William before they turn into soup.
But I don't understand. Nothing's changed.
Everything's changed.
You can't be sure I was going to refuse you, even if it had been a boy, because I'm not.
That's the point. I can't be sure of you or of anything, it seems. The last few weeks have taught me that.
But you can't leave Downton.
I can't stay. Not now.
What will you tell Papa?
But I'm grateful for what he's tried to do. But the experiment is at an end. I'm not a puppet. I must take charge of my own life again.
Would you have stayed if I'd accepted you?
Of course.
So I've ruined everything.
You've shown me I've been living in a dream. And it's time to return to real life. Wish me luck with it, Mary. God knows I wish the best for you.
Well, Rosamond, I'm afraid your meddling has cost Mary the only decent offer she'll ever get.
I'm sorry, Mama, but you know me. I have to say what I think.
Why? Nobody else does.
Are you quite well, my lady?
Of course. You know me, Carson. I'm never down for long.
I know you have spirit, my lady. That's what counts. It's all that counts in the end.
So Mary is to be denied her Countess's coronet after all?
Don't crow at me. I think she was very foolish not to take him when she could. But I told her so.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I wonder if Matthew isn't making the same mistake right now.
Are you warm enough?
I am when you're holding my hand.
Your lordship, this has just arrived for you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm happy to tell you that Thomas has just handed in his notice, so we'll be spared any unpleasantness on that score.
What a relief.
Please, would you stop, please? My lords, ladies and gentlemen, can I ask for silence? Because I very much regret to announce that we are at war with Germany.